Hello, and welcome back to the Creative Collector. So I felt my videos were missing a little something, so I figured a little accent might make you watch the video. But I'm not going to say I'm your dad because that's creepy as well. We will stay gay. Yeah, that ain't cutting it. Let's just talk about washes, shall we? So a lot of you have asked about washes, so I'm going to go through some of the methods that I use and some of the things you can use them for. Answer some of the questions like, how do you make a wash? Is that like a contrast paint? What is a wash for? Can you seal it? So I'll cover those questions and a little bit more. Right now, let's go ahead and get into the video. So what we're going to do here today is we're going to go ahead and mix up our own wash. I'll show you how I do it and how I recommend doing it, especially if you're new to this. So I'm going to do a black and brown wash. And what I like to do is I like to do about 10% paint and 90% water. And I like to keep them in these type of cups right here that actually have the lid, because if I want to use my wash later on, if I want to save it, I got the lid here, cover it up, and use it later on. Now, I've been doing this for quite some time, so right now I eye it pretty well. If you're new to this, one thing I recommend you doing is look at getting one of those measuring cups, either for paint. You can get them at a hardware store, or even if you got like medicine cups that actually have the measurements around the house that you're not using. Those work well too. I take a little bit of that paint, mix it up with about 90% water, and I'm going to mix it up just really, really good. I don't use thinner. Thinner tends to dry out really quick if you're using a wash, and I want my wash to really settle on the model itself. Now, one good way to test it is like just putting it up next to the cup here. If it beads off really, really well, then you looks like you got a pretty good wash. If it sticks on there, then you probably need to add a little bit more water. So with metallic bases, there's really nothing that you have to do other than once the paint is applied to apply the wash over the top of it. You really don't need to seal it because the metallic surface is actually, it's porous, but it's not as porous as an acrylic paint is. And if you put a sealer over that paint, then it makes a world of difference. So with this one here, we're just going to use this as an example. I'm going to go ahead and actually put this wash on top of a non-sealed metallic finish. So once this dries, it's going to have a nice grimy surface on the top of this metallic finish here. And I'm going to show you a couple of things that you can do to really enhance it and make it give a good weathered feel to it. And something very simple that you may not know. All right, so once this is dry, we got us a nice weathered steel look. And one thing we can do for weathering effects is you can take like a wet sponge or like a paper towel, just moisten it just a little bit in the corner. Doesn't have to be a lot. And then we're going to kind of go back over this very lightly and take some of that grime off. And it actually goes into the pores. You'll see all the pores into that metallic, especially if it's detailed finish like this one is. And you're just taking that off, and it gives a nice little weathered effect on there. The metallics, you don't have to seal it. You probably can. You can do this on any other surfaces. As you can see, we're pulling off a little bit of that brown and bringing back that steel underneath for a little bit of a nice weathered effect. And then when you get done with this, you could take you like a chrome accent or a bright silver accent, and then you can just dry brush over it. Then once you get done with this, you can take a chrome type paint or a bright silver and dry brush it over certain areas on the edges and on the rivets and other areas of it to really make it stand out. But this is one thing that you can do with metallics that's really, really cool. Let's take a look what a black finish is going to look like on a steel or a chrome base. Now this is an old case here that I have that I'm working on for a diorama, but I painted it a chrome steel look here, and I'm going to use this already made up Vallejo wash here that you can just buy in a store if you don't want to mix up your own. But this pretty cool effect here, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to wipe it down really good with a brush. All right, now this is a little different method here because we're not going to let this dry. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take like that paper towel method and we're going to kind of go over it very lightly when it's wet. But once this dries, it'll have a nice oily looking finish to it, kind of weathered up, and it's like an oily steel type method. You can also do this if you have a model that's sealed. So the next thing I want to show you is the difference between a sealed model versus an unsealed model. I'm going to use this old bench here for an example. Like this side right here, it's been painted brown, and I've sealed this side, but I have not sealed this side. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a finish on both sides of this, and you'll see the difference it makes with the surface and the depth it actually gets with a sealed model versus an unsealed model. So again, I'm going to use this black wash here, and I'm just going to go ahead and put this on the sealed part. All right, so we don't have to let it fully dry, but if you see how dark the wood is now compared to the other side, the difference with this here is when you have a sealed surface, you could take that wet washcloth or wet paper towel and go back over this and look how it brings out oh man, it just brings out that detail. But you get all of that depth into those cracks and crevices and stuff. Look at that. It's bringing all that back out. So the difference between this and the side that is not finished is you can do this right here and get this type of effect. It looks just really, really worn. You see some of the highlights of the wood that come out. And then you can do some dry brushing. You can do highlights, whatever. But this gives it a really good in-depth effect on your model. So once it's dry, here it is. And that looks pretty dang cool right there, I think. And I did the same approach with these ammo cans here. I painted the green on there, sealed everything, and then used the black wash over that, make some really grit and grimy, and then you can put, some effects on there, some scratches and stuff like that, some, steel effects or whatever, and this is the result of this. So now let's look at what it's going to look like once we do the unsealed side. So we're going to do the same thing that we did on the other side, but this side is not sealed whatsoever. And you'll see the different type of finish that it has on it once everything is dry. Okay, so it's not totally dry, but as you can see, this actually darkens the whole entire surface of the model when you use the wash in this method here, because it really digs into the paint layers itself versus something like this, where you actually get some highlights out of it, and it really gets into the crevices and stuff. And again, I can sit there and kind of bring more of this out if I want to, and then I can also go ahead and do some dry brushing on there to accent it. This right here, this method, should only really be used if you're actually going in and doing dry brushing on the whole entire surface to do accents or highlights or whatever, because this will dig into the paint. You do not want to use the paper towel method on this because you will start taking your paint off because it's unsealed. And I use the method on this right here. This is one of the finished products. It basically looks just gritty and grimy. I didn't do any type of dry brushing on this one. I just did the unsealed method and put it on here. And this is kind of like an antifreeze jug here. You know how nasty those things get. I'm sure you probably got one in your shed or one at your house in your backyard or whatever. But I was kind of going for that effect. And I think it succeeded. These things tend to get greasy, grimy, and it's a good effect to use. And after you get done painting all your highlights and everything like that, then you just seal the model as normal. And then there are the washes that you just put on and you don't do anything. You don't take any off or anything. You just leave it on there, let it dry, and you might do a little accents with some highlights or whatever. And I use that a lot on like rock bases and building structures, things like that. I just coat the whole entire wash on it and let it dry, and then I decide whether I'm going to put any dry brushing highlights or anything like that on there. So there's many ways to do this. This is just a few of the methods that I use, the more common methods that I use. Some of them you may know about, a couple you may not. So something like this, I used many different coats of wash, different colors. I started out the base of the log was a very light brown, and then I went in and I used a dark brown over it, and then I did a spotty black all over it, and then I actually put a green wash in it. You can kind of see some of it, and then just highlighted the top of it. But the layer washing is, I don't know if it's a thing, but it's something that I do from light to dark, and I do it in spotty areas depending on what the model is. But like a tree is a perfect example, rocks, some different types of structure like rocks and you know, grass and all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, you can use all kinds of different colors and variations of it, but I usually work from light to dark and get pretty good results out of it. Another good thing to use washes for are like effects, weathering effects like the rust and even blood effects on models. I use like an orange type of wash right here on this to kind of create like a rust effect coming down from the cathedral on this Batman model here. So that is another thing that I use washes for to give type, and you can also use different types of sponges to give like faint effects. Nothing too bold that like solid colors would give you on a model. This is used for different type of weathering, like say for example, like dirt or mud or something of that nature. You can use this, dip it in your washes, and then dip it onto like a paper towel. That way it doesn't come off so hard onto the model. Or if you're looking for a bold finish, just go straight into the wash and then onto the model. And you can create all kinds of different like run effects, like different drippings and things like that. So these are some of the sponges that I typically use, and works pretty good. So another thing you can use is a toothbrush. You can basically dip it into the wash and create like a stippling effect by just spraying it like this, like flicking the brush onto your model, and you'll create all kinds of different like stipple effects. A lot of people use this method in skin tones. So whenever they put the skin tone down, they may take a darker base flesh and they'll use this, or they'll use an airbrush basically. But the solution is watered down and it is considered a wash. All right, everybody. I hope this video helped you out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, I'd like to thank my Patreon members out there. If you're looking to become a member of the Patreon, the link is below in the description. And now it's time to finish up old Grumpy Frank here. And remember, stay safe out there. Get out and create something. Print, prep, paint, repeat. And until the next video, we'll see you.